Welcome back to 50 Shades of Femininity. I am honored to be doing another Quiet Wife Talk. I'm just excited to be uploading another week. Quiet Wife Talk. I know I was supposed to have it yesterday, but life happens. So this week I'm uploading on Wednesday. These talks are just so very therapeutic for me and motivating and just really keep me on my toes, and they're very helpful just to share so that we can understand and better and improve in our marriages and as women. So I pray that you are able to take something good from this, and yeah, let's get started. Okay, so I'm going to be very brief with this chapter because I feel like we have covered a lot of the role of a man as a provider already. But for those who don't know, I'll just run through some things that I guess stood out to me. The first commandment given to the man was that in the sweat of thy face shalt thou eat bread, till thou return unto the ground. So this commandment was given not to the woman, but to the man. The woman was instructed to bring forth children, and from this time forth, man and woman have had their duties divided. Okay. This arrangement has been honored by tradition, customs, even the courts of law. Okay, even in the event of divorce, you're still legally bound as a man to pay alimony. It has been throughout all generations recognized that when a man marries, his wife and children are entitled to his financial support. And failure to meet this obligation has been a just cause for divorce. And so I just want to bring forth a scripture verse to kind of support that. In Exodus 21:10-11, it says, if you take him another wife, her food, her raiment, and her duty of marriage, which is fidelity, right, through benevolence, okay, that shall not diminish. And verse 11, and if he do not these three unto her, then shall she go out free without money. So, the Lord is telling us right there, if he's not providing for his wife in her needs in those areas, she can depart. Okay, so even here in Babylon, even though the Lord says she can go out free without money, but here, like I was saying, he still has, they require him to pay alimony in the event of divorce. So it still leaves the man under financial obligation. Regardless, that's just always been what it is. It's important that a man provides a shelter, separate from anyone else. And this is important for the sake of privacy and just giving the wife the opportunity to make a home in her own way. Okay, and perhaps this is why the Most High gave a special instruction in Genesis 2:24 when he said, therefore shall a man leave his father and mother, and shall cleave unto his wife. So under stress of circumstances, there may be occasions when a man has to move his wife and children into another household. And although there may be justification temporarily, it's contrary to the divine plan, and it's unfair to the wife if the situation extends beyond a brief emergency. So I want to touch on, although a man has a sacred and binding obligation to provide the necessities, he's not under no such obligation to provide luxuries. Okay, women and children are not entitled to ease and luxury, to style and to elegance. Okay, his duty is not to provide a costly home, expensive furniture and decor. And as far as concerning education of his children, he has an obligation to provide basic education, but such as a binding obligation doesn't extend to a higher education like music lessons, the arts and cultures. And he may wish to provide these things, and it may bring him pleasure to do so, but it's not mandatory. Okay. Um, because in providing a high standard of living, some men, you know, make near economic slaves of themselves. Okay, and that comes with great disadvantages to themselves and to their families. Because the man is consumed with trying to meet, these ever increasing demands. It's always good to, that the man also, teaching the children values of life and giving, a little bit of their time to their wife and children to lead them and be a good teacher, okay, and how to live and the standards to follow in time to just build strong family ties. Okay, a man is also entitled for recreation, study, and meditation for himself. And, he does have a further need to be of service outside of his home circle and a commitment to society, to our Israelite community, and service for the ministry is a very important part of his responsibility. And, we see that in scriptures when we read in the gospel, so men also have talents, and gifts from the Most High that need to be shared. Ability which could be developed to make the community a better place. And the scriptures say, let your light so shine before men that they may see your good works and glorify your Father in heaven. So it's just not right for a man to spend his entire time and energy to provide luxuries for his own family circle. I don't think it's possible to exaggerate how seriously men take their responsibility to provide. Okay. Majority of men, when they come of age, take on an enormous burden, which they may not lay down with any conscience on the side of the grave. They put aside, in the name of love, most of their vaunted freedom and contract to take upon their shoulders full social and economic responsibility for their wives and children. And so as women, we need to understand with all comprehending sympathy what a man really faces in earning the living. We don't have to, as women, really carry the burden of, having that pressure on us that we, our family's very lives and health, is on our shoulders, and whether they eat or not, if they go hungry, like that's a huge strain and a burden to carry. So men don't really, they talk about it very little, and they rarely bring up how heavy this burden is and it weighs on them, because they don't want their loved ones to worry. But we just have to understand and show that appreciation. Women who work don't really feel the same kind of pressures as men do, and this is because they have a different orientation to the world of work, whereas a man feels he can't turn aside from his work with a clear conscience. A woman doesn't feel the same sense of duty. She can resign her job at any time and for any reason without a feeling of guilt. Okay? Economic problems may result, but she won't have a lower opinion of herself or feel disgraced in the eyes of the public. But on the other hand, if an able-bodied man were to stop working, it would injure his feeling of worth and his image to the public. You know, he and everyone else would consider him a failure, okay, if he were to neglect his important duty. And how often do we hear people say things like, oh, he's a bum dude, he don't got no job, you know, I mean, there's all kind of stuff that's said, especially for a Israelite man that is without work. You know, he's lazy. I mean, there's no, it's no slack. They don't cut them no slack. A woman feels pressure, but it's of a different kind. Okay. You know, a time pressure from living a double role at the most. But a man feels the binding moral pressure. And so I just wanted to kind of make that clear. And I also want to say that, you know, these thoughts cannot help but awaken your concern for your husband and motivate you to want to, you know, do something to help to relieve his strain and make his life easier. And you may even feel impelled to seek employment outside the home or assist him in his work. And as noble as these thoughts are, they're not the best solution. So instead, do the following. Try to reduce expenses. Okay, do everything that you can to reduce expenses so that you're living well within your husband's income and hopefully with some to spare for savings. And when you do, you'll greatly relieve his anxieties over money. Suggestions on doing this, we're going to discuss more in the future when we discuss family finances. And so also reduce demands on his time. If your husband works long hours or gives himself devotedly to his works, when he comes home, he needs time to relax and recover. So you may have to forego places you want, things that you had planned for him to do, and just adjust your life to his. Also, live your feminine role. Okay, instead of helping your husband provide the income, provide a wonderful home life. You know, let him make the living and you make life worth living. Keep the home intact so it's running smoothly with all the daily needs met. Be feminine, be cheerful, and do all you can to bring a peaceful spirit in the home. Okay, such an atmosphere will relieve his anxieties and help him succeed as a provider. And so I am aware that in certain situations, especially with us being subject to, you know, different payments and conditions here in the land of our captivity, there really may come a time when we do have to pick up work to be a good helpmate, like Hannah had to do for Tobit, to just, like I said, be that good helpmate. Because again, our men really have it hard, you know, because of the curses written in Deuteronomy, the 28th chapter, where it talks about we be the tail and not the head, you know, and we're just not in our kingdom. So in that case, I did put together a short little a list of feminine jobs that a woman could take on that can kind of help her maintain her feminine posture. Although being a homemaker is, you know, and you know, just being a mother and a wife and homemaker, that is the greatest feminine work that there is. Okay, but again, if that's not an option for you, a kindergarten and a kindergarten and preschool teacher is a good one to look into. A dental hygienist, housekeeping, dental assistant, childcare worker, secretaries, administrative assistants, doulas, midwives, breastfeeding consultants, diet and nutritionists, hairdressers, medical assistants, and medical billing and coding. They have a lot of work from home jobs available now in the field of medical billing and coding. So, um, if you have any other that you can add to the list that comes to mind, please add it in the comments section. But those are the ones that I came up with. Okay? And lastly, I'm just going to go over a parallel to his present responsibility to provide the living is his drive for status. Okay? And this again, we need to understand with all comprehending sympathy. The drive and desire for status is noticeable in all male members of the animal kingdom. Robert Audrey, in his book African Genesis, he states that in the animal world, the instinct for status, for the acquisition and defense of territory, is more compelling for the male than is the sex instinct. The pecking order in the barnyard, the formation in which a flock of wild geese fly, the hierarchy in a colony of baboons, and the raking within a herd of elephants is a more driving force for the male than is the sex function. Okay, this drive for position is evident in the human male as he pushes for a higher rank in his work. Don't think his sole motivation is money. Although money is usually the main incentive, the desire for position is also a factor. And this is evident in the male who doesn't need more money but drives on for a higher level of achievement. The desire for status is noticeable even if a man is only trying to win a game or toss a basketball better than other men, or this desire may impel him to higher heights, of achievements. This is a strong masculine characteristic lacking in the truly feminine woman. It's not the nature of women to seek superiority over one another. But the man, on the other hand, desires to shine out brightly and to seek an honored place in the world of men. But to some extent, the desire for status is a negative trait. And it would be better if men were moved to action by feelings of love or a desire to serve humanity. A desire to serve our people. But, men are human, and this trait is not without some merit. Okay, the drive for status, if not mixed with greed and lust for power, can impel men to strive earnestly for worthy goals or bring them out of obscurity where they can more adequately influence and serve the nation. Okay. Also, when a man has achieved an honored position, it may be heartwarming to receive the acclaim of the world, but greater is the satisfaction in receiving the acclaim of his wife. Okay, although he would like to be a hero to his friends and colleagues, he'd rather be a hero to the woman he loves. And this is all important to him. So, if he doesn't receive her praise, he could be painfully disappointed. Keep that in mind. I know a lot of women sometimes struggle with giving their husband praise. So there's women who actually have a great appreciation for their husband's achievements, but they just deliberately withhold praise because they think they're doing it for their own good. I'm afraid that too much praise will make him arrogant or unprepared for possible defeat. And so, it's like the mother instinct in us to want to keep, just want to keep their feet on the ground. And women will do this by being lukewarm about their husband's achievements. So just try and be mindful of that, not to be in that motherly spirit toward our husbands. Okay. A man may dedicate himself to his work for a different reason than status. Okay, it may be for excellence in his work. He's motivated by the feeling of satisfaction and self-worth, which only excellent work can bring. This is the joy of the artist. Okay, we have a lot of talented brothers in our nation. Okay, the carpenter or even the musician. A lot of our men are into music. Okay, and they find rewards in their inner feeling of achievement in creating something of beauty or value. And such men may work with great dedication, giving their all to their work, and this can cause considerable distress to the wife and children. And an example is in the following letter of complaint that I would like to read to you. It says, "We live in a peculiar area where most of the men work for the government. They have highly skilled jobs, and most of them experimental. The mental challenge is extremely keen, and competition is great, and the personal satisfaction is tremendous. But the children don't have a father, and wives a husband. The short time my husband is home, we are happy, but the job has his heart and soul." My comment is this. Okay, so listen to this, a little advice here. It's really good. Men who lose themselves in their work have to neglect wives and children to some extent. They are the men, however, that make the most notable contributions to society. Our world couldn't exist as it does now if it weren't for such men. Men who have been fortunate enough to have wives who have understood and given them loyal support have been blessed and been able to reach their goals much easier. If you are married to such a man, count yourself fortunate. It's better to have 10% of a 100% man than 100% of a 10% man. If your husband has a worthy and impelling goal in mind, give him the freedom to reach for the stars, ladies. Okay, when he's in the pursuit of his goals, his life may not be easy. And he may have to work long hours to give himself wholeheartedly to his work. And he may have mountains to climb, rivers to cross, battles to win. So be supportive, and you'll be a key factor in his success. Okay? Alright, so let's see. The assignment is very simple. If your husband is an adequate provider, tell him something like this. "I really appreciate how hard you work to provide the living. It is such a great responsibility." Or ask him a question such as, "How do you manage it so well?" Okay, in this way you help him feel adequate as a provider. Alright, and that's that for this week. Next week we'll be touching on family finances. And I thank you so much for tuning in to 50 Shades of Femininity. Until next time, Shalom.